For hundreds of years, people have asked the same question. How did the first humans reach the Americas, a land so distant from the rest of the world? Many ideas have been suggested, but no single one has explained the whole story. Some researchers believe early people walked from Asia across a wide land bridge that once connected the continents. Others think small groups traveled slowly along the coast by boat, following shorelines that are now underwater. For a long time, there was little proof to confirm either path. Theories stayed theories. Then, not long ago, scientists began exploring deep cave systems hidden beneath the waters of Mexico. Inside those flooded chambers, they started to uncover human remains and traces of ancient life. Evidence preserved in silence for thousands of years. What they found there is beginning to reshape our understanding of when and how people first entered the Americas. And as we look back into those dark, submerged caves, we're reminded of something simple. The story of human movement is still unfinished. Each discovery does not close the question. It opens it wider, showing just how far our ancestors traveled and how much of their journey still waits to be understood. Let's dive in. The discovery of Chanhole 3. In 2016, a team of cave divers entered a flooded cavern near Tulum in Mexico. Local people call the place Chanhole, Little Hole. Moving slowly through the dark water, their lights swept across the cave floor. Beneath a thin layer of sand, they noticed a pale shape. At first, it looked like stone, but when they brushed the sand away, they realized they were looking at a human skull. Nearby lay more bones, teeth, pieces of hands and legs, all coated in a smooth, glassy layer of minerals that caught the light. Scientists later called her Chanhole 3, the third skeleton discovered in that cave system. Unlike many remains found there, her skeleton was nearly complete. It offered rare clues about who she was, her age, her health, and the life she lived thousands of years ago. In the lab, researchers examined her bones as carefully as detectives. Her teeth showed cavities, likely from a diet rich in fruit and starchy plants. 3 healed marks on her skull showed she had suffered serious injuries and survived them. No one can say how they happened: accident, conflict, or ritual. There were also signs of infection in her bones, quiet evidence of illness in a time without medicine. Life then was harsh, yet she lived into her 30s, an uncommon age for that distant past. Dating her remained difficult. The usual method depends on collagen in bone, and hers had long since disappeared. So scientists turned to another approach. They studied uranium and thorium in the thin calcite crust that had formed over her bones while they lay in the cave. The results showed she was at least 9,900 years old, living near the end of the Ice Age, when giant ground sloths and saber-toothed cats still moved across parts of what is now Mexico. But her age was not the only surprise. When researchers compared her skull with other ancient skulls from Mexico, something stood out. Remains from the Yucatan region often have rounder skulls with lower foreheads. Those from central Mexico tend to be longer and narrower. Chanhole 3 did not match either pattern. She seemed to belong to neither group. That raised deeper questions. Were there once 2 different human populations living in Mexico at the same time? Did they arrive in separate migrations? Or did one early population spread out and change in different regions over generations? DNA might have helped answer that, but centuries underwater had destroyed it. Without genetic evidence, scientists could estimate her age and health, but not her ancestry. She remained balanced between 2 possibilities. Either Mexico once held distinct human lineages, or a single early population that diversified as it spread. For years, Chanhole 3 stood as both discovery and puzzle, proof that people lived in this land at the end of the Ice Age. and a reminder of how incomplete our understanding still was. Then, in another nearby cave, a second discovery would begin to bring those answers into view. The underground world. On Mexico's Caribbean coast, where clear blue water meets thick jungle, stands the ancient town of Tulum. More than 800 years ago, it was a busy Maya port, a place of trade, ritual, and daily life. Today, visitors come for the bright sea and wild landscape. Few realize what lies beneath the ground below them, because under this tropical coast is another world, one sealed away for thousands of years. If you could drain the shallow turquoise sea and step beneath the jungle near Tulum, you would find a vast hidden maze. Long tunnels cut through pale limestone, filled now with dark, still water. These flooded caves, called cenotes, link to underground rivers that flow quietly beneath the land. To divers, they are beautiful and eerie. To archaeologists, they are something rarer, natural time capsules. Inside, researchers have found bones of Ice Age animals, simple tools, charcoal from ancient fires, and even human skeletons. All of it preserved in silence. The question is how it came to rest so deep underground. Thousands of years ago, during the Ice Age, these caves were dry. Sea levels were more than 100 meters lower than today. People and animals could walk through them freely. Then the climate warmed. Glaciers melted. The sea rose and slowly flooded the tunnels, sealing everything inside. What had once been open ground became a drowned landscape, untouched for millennia. The caves stayed intact because of the environment itself. Sunlight never reaches them. The water barely moves. Mineral formations hang from the ceilings like stone teeth, and the surface of the water is so still it reflects the rock above like a mirror, making it hard to tell up from down. In that silence, time seems to stop. Over centuries, these flooded passages became natural vaults. Bones that would have decayed on the surface remained almost unchanged. Even fragile traces, handprints in clay, ash from fires, survived. Yet one thing rarely endures here: DNA. Warm, mineral-rich water breaks it down long before scientists can recover it. Dating the remains was also difficult. The usual method relies on collagen in bone, but that had vanished. So researchers turned to uranium-thorium dating. A thin crust of calcite slowly forms over bones lying in the cave. By measuring elements within that layer, scientists can estimate how long it has been growing, and therefore how old the remains beneath it must be. The results were striking. Some skeletons deep in these caves were close to 10,000 years old and some older still. They had rested in darkness since a time when Ice Age animals still moved across the land, and the first people were exploring this region. For centuries, the cenotes had held these traces quietly, fragments of lives from the earliest chapters of human presence in the Americas. But one question remained: who were these people? That question would lead researchers to one of the most haunting discoveries ever made beneath Tulum. So here we are. From Naya to Chanhole 3, each discovery has brought us a little closer to the lives of the earliest people in the Americas. How they moved across the land, how they survived, and how they slowly made this place home. Every skeleton, every cave, every trace left behind adds another small piece to a story that is far older and more complex than anyone once believed. The first Americans were not a single moment or migration, but generations of people adapting, traveling, and changing over thousands of years. What remains is not just a mystery about where they came from, but a deeper reflection on who we are. A species shaped by movement, endurance, and the search for new ground. And even now, beneath quiet water and stone, parts of that story are still waiting to be found.